Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be cooking coconut jollof rice. So we've got some blended pepper, sliced onions, sliced tomatoes, salt, some bouillon cubes, coconut milk, thyme, curry, and some spices. That's tomato puree, and we've got some spices there, ginger, garlic, and that's our chicken. So we'll start with boiling the chicken. So that's chicken thighs. It's been washed and cleaned. I put it inside a pot, and the pot is on medium heat. So I'll be putting in some slices of onions, about half a bulb of sliced onions, about half a bulb of sliced onion. Put in some thyme, about 1 teaspoon of thyme. I'm putting in some curry. This is about half a teaspoon of curry. Bouillon cubes, and I'm going to crush 2 cubes of chicken flavored bouillon cubes. That's 1 cube, and that's the second cube. So in the pot I have about 10 pieces of chicken thigh. So we'll mix together. I forgot to show you the clip of where I added salt. So I added a bit salt to this. I don't know where I put the clip, so the clip is not on here. Sorry, I didn't include that. So I'm adding about a cup of water to the chicken. So we'll cover and allow it to cook. So it's been cooking for the past 10 minutes now. Remember, it's a soft chicken, so I don't want it to be fully cooked because I'm still going to roast it in the oven. And soft chicken most of the time falls apart easily, so that's why I cook this just for 10 minutes. Half is half cooked. So I'm going to put it in the oven tray, which I already lined with foil paper. And I'm going to be dropping it on the foil paper one at a time. Like I was saying, I intentionally did not allow the chicken to be well cooked because I don't want it to fall apart, and I'm still going to cook it in the oven while I roast it in the oven. So by the time it's finished roasting in the oven, it will be well done. So I put everything in the oven tray and put it in the oven. So while that is cooking in the oven, while it's roasting in the oven, I put another pot on medium heat, on fire on medium heat, and I'm putting in about a cup of vegetable oil. I usually use sunflower oil, so that's about 1 cup of sunflower oil. Allow it to get hot, and in there I throw in my onions. So I've got sliced onions, about half a bulb of that, and allow it to fry so that I can release its fragrance into the oil. So I keep stirring around with a spoon until it is translucent and well fried. So the onion has been frying now for the past 5 minutes, and I turn it around again just to make sure that it's frying equally on all sides. This stage is quite important because frying the onions allows it to release its flavor. So it's been frying for the past 10 minutes now. I'm going to put in my tomato puree, and I'm going to be putting in 1 tablespoon, so a heap full of a tablespoon of tomato puree, concentrated tomato puree, and I'm going to mix that around and fry it together with the onions. So we fry this with the onions until it is well fried, and this also helps to eliminate, the taste of tomato puree. It has this metallic taste. It helps to eliminate that taste. Remember, we're still frying it on medium heat. Okay, so it's been frying for a few minutes now. This is our tomato, bell pepper, onion and ginger mix. So I blended that in the blender, and I'm going to mix around to allow it to fry too with the onion and tomato puree mix already on the fire. So mix around and allow this to cook. So it's been cooking on the fire, and you can see it's so we add about a teaspoon of thyme, dry thyme, a teaspoon of dry curry powder, a mixture of about half a teaspoon each of ginger, garlic and nutmeg. I usually like putting nutmeg in my jollof rice, in my coconut jollof rice, because I think it elevates the taste to another level. Try it and see. So I'm going to be putting in 4 cubes of my chicken bouillon cubes. I'm crushing that in there. So we mix together, and we mix everything thoroughly together so that it is well mixed, and we allow it to cook some more on medium heat. As you can see that the more it's cooking, the more the oil forms a layer on the stew. Forms a layer of oil on the stew. So I'm covering it, and we'll allow it to cook some more. This is after about 5 minutes of cooking. So as you can see, it's much thicker, and the oil has formed a definite layer on it. So that's the coconut milk. I have about 2 cups of coconut milk in there, and I'm pouring that into the pot. And that's the water, that's the broth from the chicken that we cooked earlier. That's about 2 cups of the broth. I mix everything together Make sure it is well mixed together. After mixing together, then we cover it and allow it to cook again. So we'll allow it to cook for about few minutes. Yeah, it's been cooking for about 5 minutes now, and I mix together. I'm tasting for salt behind the camera, and the salt is just perfect. Notice I've not added salt all along because everything we've been using, the stock cubes, the broth, all contain salt. So this is my washed rice. I'm using basmati rice, and I have about 3 cups of washed basmati rice in there, and I pour that in. So I'll gently spread the rice with the spoon so that it can cook uniformly, and while I do that, I reduced the heat under the pot. I reduced it to the lowest. Remember, basmati rice needs steaming, so once basmati rice gets into hot water, you reduce the fire, you reduce the heat to the minimum. So I've reduced the heat to the minimum, and I'm covering my pot with a foil paper so that the heat can be, so I can conserve the heat so that there's no heat escaping. So yes, and I covered my pot. I'm trying to seal off all the edges of the foil paper and the pot so that the heat won't escape. And yes, so we allow it to steam for about 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll keep checking. So this is after about 15 minutes, and as you can see, that's our rice. It is not totally done at this stage because there's still a bit of water in there, but it's almost done. So I'm adding about a half tablespoon of butter, and this gives it another flavor, another level of flavor. I'm adding about 2 sliced tomatoes, 2 tomatoes that I've sliced. I'm adding it to garnish it, and I'm adding a pinch of salt because I realized that later when I tasted the rice, it needed just a bit of salt. Remember, we tasted the broth, the mixture, before putting in the rice, so do be careful. Make sure you taste your rice before you add any salt. So I'm just going to move it around a bit, so allow the butter to be well melted and the tomatoes too. I'm mixing everything together, and once it's slightly mixed together, I cover it back and allow it to be completely cooked. So yes, once it's cooked, after about 5 minutes, I was done, everything was ready, and that's our plate of coconut jollof rice. It was so yummy, and it was paired with the baked chicken thigh. So try yours and let me see how it goes. Till I see you next time. Bye.